Power is dangerous. These are the words of the gods. But that power, that danger, is everything.
I'm just standing outside Katheryn Winnick's house and I am nervous as hell. But hopefully we're going to have a great conversation. I get to learn some exciting new things that no one else knows about Vikings yet. So let's see what comes out of this. Wish me luck, guys. Hey, I'm Nick. Nice to meet you. When I was told I would be getting the chance to talk to Katheryn Winnick, who plays Lagertha, I could barely contain my excitement. Her character has gone through a lot over the seasons, and I really wanted her perspective on episode 5 and where she believes Lagertha might be going. Plus, I was also just excited to be meeting her in person. So, Katheryn, thank you so much for meeting up with me today. I know that you're just finishing the last few weeks here.
Great to meet you, Nick. Thank you. Welcome to Dublin.
Yeah. I just wanted to know, now that we're on to season 4, how are things going exactly with it? Because this is the biggest season yet. All the other seasons have been just 10 episodes.
It's going really well, and really down to the last week. And I'm sure everybody already knows that we ordered double the order, so we're doing now 20 episodes.
Yeah.
So it's been a long journey. We've been in Ireland now for almost a full year. But this, in season 4, there's going to be a lot of surprises. There's definitely going to be a huge shift in my character as Lagertha. There's going to be some new characters that are added to our series. There's going to be some shocking deaths. And there's going to be epic battles and internal conflicts. And I think everybody's just going to be really pleasantly surprised when they watch it.
Oh, no, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Did Michael Hurst sit you down at the beginning and tell you how this was going to pan out? Or was it at the beginning of season 4 that you got an idea of how things were going to progress?
That's a good question. We have a very strong relationship with Michael Hurst. At least I'm lucky enough to say that I do. And it's a very much of a collaborative process. Of course, he's the mastermind and the brilliant genius in terms of keeping everybody's characters straight in his head and evolving and having each character have their own personal journey. And I don't think at the beginning of the season he fully knew how he was going to end up at the end of 20 episodes, since this is such a unique project where Michael writes every single episode. That's almost unheard of in television.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, a long-winded answer is I actually have dinners with Michael every month or two whenever he comes into town and talk about the new shifts of the character, where Lagertha's going. What doesn't kill her makes her stronger is kind of the theme with her. And also what other avenues or what other layers I can play, since now being on the show for 4 years. You always want to challenge yourself as an actress, and you always want to evolve your character. And Michael's very collaborative, and it's great to be able to work together with him on that.
I think Michael Hurst had his own idea of what Lagertha as a character was. What did you bring to it? I'm sure you made a compromise along the way of how you envisioned the character.
Well, he will be the first to tell you that Lagertha was very much the wild card.
Right.
Because there's very little information about her. I remember when it first started, I looked up Lagertha, knowing that this is a historically accurate TV show and Vikings did exist, and Ragnar Lothbrok was a famous Viking who became king, and his sons became even more famous than he did. But with Lagertha, I remember Googling her, there was absolutely nothing. It took me hours just to find a poem about her, and there was nothing. Now, you Google Lagertha, there's Wikipedia pages, there's people naming their cats and dogs after Lagertha. It's crazy. And then the World Shield Maiden became more of a household name. So it's interesting how far we've come in the last 4 years. And with Lagertha, since we only know a few little things, it's really with Michael helping come up with a character that I feel strongly about, but yet to make it my own.
Yeah, I'm getting the feeling that she's starting to become a little frustrated by this point, because from seasons 1 all the way to now, she's been trying to prove to everyone, including Ragnar, that she is an equal. Is she done with that now?
You're right. She has definitely been betrayed by men, many men, not just Ragnar, but also her second husband that was physically abusive, that she had to take care of.
Yeah.
And then Nicole, her second in command, who usurped her and betrayed her that way. And there's definitely been many men that have dishonored her.
I don't ever want to forget how you looked on our wedding day.
Oh, Calf is dead.
I was so hoping that you were not going to kind of just end up in another sort of abusive relationship. And I was like, please don't. You did last time. And then the knife just comes out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, yes.
When Lagertha makes a promise,
Yeah.
she sticks to her promise.
Absolutely.
And I think shooting that scene with Ben Robson, who plays Calf, was really interesting because I think it was hard for her to do that. I think even though, yes, he betrayed her, but they are running the earldom together, I think it was bittersweet for her. It's she does care for him. She may probably never trust him, but she helped raise him. And my backstory with it, because there was a time jump, I really created in my head that Lagertha knew his family, knew his mom, and really helped raise him and groom him to who he was as a second in command. I think it was quick for me. I couldn't believe that he would come and go that quickly. I thought it would be a longer story with Koff, but Michael always wants to shock you and surprise you. And Lagertha had to do it. She gave him a promise. I think the promise was, you know, if you accept this, know that one day I will kill you.
So that was her original plan.
I don't know if it was her original plan. She knew that one day she would kill him.
Right.
I don't know if she knew when.
Right.
And that was the scenes. I remember talking to Helen Schaefer, who directed that episode, because she gets dressed and she's going through the process and there's a whole wedding. By putting herself in a position where she's married to someone else, and this would be her third marriage, it doesn't necessarily benefit her as a warrior and as an earl to be beholden to someone else. And I think it got to a point where she had to make a decision.
Yeah.
And it's tricky because she is carrying his child. She is killing the father of her child, who she does love, but will she ever love him as strong as Ragnar? No. I think she can't really ever really trust him, because once a cheater, always a cheater. Once a usurper, always a usurper, right?
Exactly. But was she also just growing suspicious because there was a scene in that episode where Karl and his comrade are talking, and she's like, what are you guys talking about?
Yes. Lagertha definitely has her eyes wide open, especially everything that she went through. And that just validated the reason why she had to do what she had to do.
Yeah, but now her claim is strong. She
is now. At the end of this episode, she is now back in power. She took her kingdom back, how to be. She's unstoppable. And I think in season 4, she really comes into her own and doesn't necessarily rely on them anymore. I don't think she ever really will put herself in a situation where she's dependent on another man again.
Is that why she surrounds herself with shield maidens? Does she trust them more than men? She would rather have women under her command than other men?
Lagertha is definitely a very smart warrior. I think she empowers women, and she doesn't mind having women around them. But I don't think that she chooses the women sex over the men. And I think that's the wrong way to go. And I think sometimes when we shoot, if someone's setting up a shot, they just want shield maidens around me. And I'm like, well, that's not the case. Yeah, I would have men, obviously, there too. But she herself is a shield maiden, and she knows the power of a woman and being a warrior as well. And I think she has her maidens around, and she trusts them. And they've seen her work her way up to becoming Earl again and getting her kingdom back. And so I do think it's important to have a core group of females that she trusts.
Yeah.
And that is funny. Last night I even took the shield maidens out for dinner, and it's nice to have that sense of sisterhood. These are background actors that have been on the show since season 1 and that are in the thick of it with us. But they are there every single day, but they come back. They come back because they love the show so much and they love working with us.
And they've been with you since season 2, actually.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
They definitely have. Some of them were here in season 1, but I've kind of adopted them as Lagertha's clan. Yeah. But it's really amazing as how strong they are. And I know Lagertha definitely gets a lot of the credit for being a strong feminist icon. But I have to say that there's many strong characters and women characters on the show, not just Lagertha,
right,
such as Queen Auslog, such as Quenthrith, such as Judith's character. And it's nice that Michael is able to write women with such complexities, but strength as well.
I also want to ask about how the kind of costume and hair went into creating Lagertha. Like, I understand that you had a lot of interest in bringing her aesthetically to life when you spoke to the costume team.
Yes, and it specifically is one woman, one incredible woman by the name of Joan Bergen, who is probably the most talented artist and craftswoman that I've ever met in terms of creating a wardrobe and telling a story through clothes. One of my favorite things is going to her and doing her fittings and talking about Lagertha and how her clothes reflect where she's at, not just in status, but also emotionally. But what was really important for me, as you see the season unfold, she still keeps her shield maiden look, her warrior side in a feminine way.
With your representation of Lagertha and the shows, I can believe that this is a real character. And that's what I think essentially works.
It's a ritual process. When you get dressed in the morning, usually, this week they picked me up at, honestly, I got my alarm clock was 3:45 a.m.
Ooh.
And my car was waiting outside, to take me to set at 4:20. And then usually I'm in the hair chair for an hour getting the braids done. Katheryn Winnick does my hair, and she's incredible. And she doesn't use any products. We don't use any hairspray, everything is done, sewn in by hand. But you do that for an hour, and then you're in makeup, and you reapply if it's warrior eyes or getting dirt on your face. Then after that, it's costumes, and that usually takes about half an hour just to lace me into the armory outfits or put on dresses, and it's a real ritual process for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, you hear my accent. I don't sound like Lagertha in real life. Lagertha is a different voice and a different register. And the transformation process of getting into the clothes for me slows me down as Katheryn.
Right.
And I kind of, on a daily basis, become Lagertha when I go through the works.
So what time is it, like, when you fully
It takes
transform?
me, unfortunately, it takes a while. It takes about 2.5 hours a day.
Oh, it looks amazing. I say that.
It's worth it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
definitely worth it.
Yeah. I just wanted to go back to your sort of martial arts background. I'm just thinking, like, with the fighting on the Viking set, it's almost like a dance choreography. What sort of things were you able to bring to the table with your background?
Well, I'm sure you know that I'm a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo, second-degree black belt in karate, and licensed bodyguard. And so even though I had all of that training as a youngster, it's very different, obviously, being a shield maiden. I can't throw a roundhouse kick or a back kick.
Right, yeah.
But the discipline of training and knowing how to carry my body in a scene, in a combat, is very similar. And her strong will as a fighter, I think, is what I bring to Lagertha outside of the battle sequences. And I enjoy the fighting. I definitely enjoy the fighting. I can pick it up really quickly. But there's an incredible stunt team that helps you with all this in terms of coordinating, and they work out the kinks.
Have you done any big battle scenes before doing Vikings, like on any other
No, I
projects?
haven't. But I enjoy that stuff. It's easy. And for me, in the sense, I love it. I really get a high from it. I truly do. It's endorphins kick in. But it is important to say that as much as you prepare for it, when you're shooting with 200-300 extras, with horses flying in and out and people tripping all over each other and mud and slipping and sliding, as well as you're prepared, you have to sometimes improvise. And, you drop your shield, you pick it up, you keep going. That's reality. And sometimes that's when you find the most authentic moments, when it's just raw and undone and not planned.
That's what I appreciate about it, because there is no flawless choreography. It doesn't look gorgeous and pretty. It's blunt, it's gritty, it feels real. The fact that you just describing of you falling down, dropping your shield, I would imagine that in a real battle scene.
It is, and it gets tricky. I remember the first season, we're shooting this huge sequence, and we're supposed to be running down this hill, and it was pouring rain, and there's at least 200-300 extras all in their gear, and horse is coming in and out of the shield wall, and my horse stepped on my foot, and you can imagine the weight of it. But lucky enough, because it was raining and there was so much mud, My foot sank, so it saved my foot. But you just have to keep going. You've
so you owned it?
4 cameras. I had to own it.
Are you
That's
doing choreographed cuts?
No, it's they had to wrap it up after, and I'm bleeding and stuff like that. But it's sometimes you walk out of these battle sequences and you're like, which is my blood and which isn't. But hey, I'm a warrior first, and just an actress. It's part of the job, so I enjoy it. I enjoy the cuts and bruises.
Oh, thank you very much for them. What do you think it was that made them pick you?
A lot of people think it was because I had my Taekwondo background, but funny enough, I never even mentioned that at all until I did a Skype call with Michael. That was much further along in the casting process. I just understood Lagertha, and I knew who she was simply probably because of her strong will and having that background for me as a fighter. And what I like most about her, what I like most about Lagertha is that she doesn't have it all together. She is not just a strong warrior. She's vulnerable, and she's a woman, and she has her own issues that she herself struggles with, especially when she doesn't necessarily trust that many people.
I can imagine not. And it seems like Bjorn is the only one that she irrefutably
Even that gets tested in season 4. It's very interesting. Even that gets tested.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest moments in the end of season 3 was when everyone started confessing their true feelings about Ragnar when they thought he had died.
If you have gone to heaven, then we will never meet again. And yet, I think Odin will ride like the wind and rescue you and take you to Valhalla where you belong, my own sweet Ragnar. And there we shall meet again, and fight, and drink, and love one another.
How does she feel after that? Like that she had been completely honest with him, and he had heard the whole thing?
It's a very good question. I think that scene where she's talking to him through the coffin is a heartbreaking moment for her, and it shows where she's at emotionally with Ragnar. He is her true love. I think he always will be. I think their relationship is complicated. I don't know if she ever sees herself back together with him, and I know a lot of fans are going to be like, no, I want them to ship together. But, she understands him, and she may not necessarily agree with his choices as king and can see his flaws too. Even though they have grown apart, she's always still somewhat connected to him and knows him better than anyone else. In my opinion, she knows him better than her son and better than Rollo. She knows his ins and outs and his weaknesses and his strengths, and it's shown in season 4 for sure. It is complicated. You will see the two meet again in season 4. And I love working with Travis in terms of working with Scene. He gives you so much, and that chemistry is completely evident. I knew that in season 1. I knew that in our chemistry read. Originally, they called me. They're like, okay, we just hired Ragnar. We'll fly you to LA and screen test opposite Travis Fimmel and to see if there's chemistry. And I remember calling my agent.
That's a bit unusual, right? To do that right off the bat with the...
Not necessarily. There's chemistry reads sometimes, too. They want to see how the chemistry is. And I remember calling my agent up, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? What is a chemistry read? And he's like, well, they want to see if you have chemistry. I'm like, okay. So we ended up going to MGM, and we worked in the studio, and they had the cameras rolling with the bosses of MGM. And just working with Travis, we definitely have chemistry. And I remember just grabbing his face and making out with him. I'm like, you want chemistry? But he's also gives you so much as an actor, or maybe nothing at all, which itself is something in a scene, depending on how he chooses to play certain scenes. But it's always full, and that chemistry is... There's few actors that you kind of have it with. You can't plan it, and it's undeniable, and I think that is what the audience picks up on. Yeah. Lagertha and Ragnar had something special, for sure. They're two titans together.
And when did you start actually shooting from there? Because that was right at the very beginning.
I think I flew to Ireland 5 days later.
Wow.
I had to pick up my entire life and move to Ireland in 5 days and start shooting.
Was it worth it in the end?
100% worth it. Yeah. I am happy to end off this by saying that this is my favorite role to date. I feel so blessed to be a part of something so great, and that I'm extremely proud of. And I don't take it for granted because it is one of those things that is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I hope to look back at this in my hopefully long career and understand how special this show is. And I couldn't be more proud of it.
Well, thank you very much, Katheryn. Thank you so much for seeing us. I had a lot of fun with this podcast.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you. It's really nice to do interviews with somebody that's a fan and so well educated on the series. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thank you guys all for watching the show. And we love you. And mwah.
I never thought in my wildest dreams I would be meeting her. That was really surreal.
Great.
Thank you so much for that.
Sure. Yeah, hopefully we got it.
Yeah. My friends are going to hate me when I tell them I met Katheryn Winnick.